Hello, everyone. I'm working on getting all of my lives connected here. So 1 second. All right, we are live. Hi, everyone. I'm Holly Draper. I'm the CEO Managing Partner at the Draper Law Firm. And today I wanted to follow up and do a little bit more on child custody in Texas. I had some FAQs that came up as a result of the last live that I did last week on Child Custody 101 and wanted to have an opportunity to answer some of those questions. As always, if you have more questions, feel free to send us a DM or drop them in the comments, and we will try to get those answered for you as well. So the first question I got was, does joint custody mean 50-50 time? First, it's important to understand that the term custody is not something you're going to see in a custody order in Texas. And when I hear people use that term joint custody, they could be talking about one of two things. They could be talking about rights or they could be talking about possession. If we're talking about rights, we are talking about joint managing conservatorship and what rights each parent has or each conservator has. Being a joint managing conservator does not mean that it is a 50-50 possession schedule. In theory, you could also have a 50-50 possession schedule without having joint managing conservatorship, but I think that is pretty unlikely because if someone is good enough to have the child 50% of the time, they're probably good enough to be a joint managing conservator. The next question, can we make our own custom schedule instead of using the standard one? So the family code has only one schedule with 3 different variations called the standard possession order. And it includes schedules for less than 50 miles apart, 50 to 100 miles apart, and over 100 miles apart. It is standard for a reason. And even if you don't use the standard possession order schedule, it's often really helpful to use certain elements from it. Even if we're doing a custom schedule or a 50-50 schedule, we'll often use standard possession holidays, things like that to add them into the custom schedule. But yes, we can create custom schedules that will work best for your family and your lives. We do that all the time. If you're going to agree, you can do whatever you want and you don't have to follow what's in the order as long as you're getting along. But it's only enforceable if you follow what is in that written order. So you want that written order to be something that is going to work for your life and something that is best for your child. There are other common schedules that we use, a couple of different kinds of 50-50 schedules. And usually we're going to start with one of the common schedules, but then we might tweak it to better fit a particular family's lives. We could change the pickup and drop off times. We could add in other holidays. We could change the Thursday night overnight to Tuesday night overnight. We can do anything we want if the parties are going to agree to it. Getting a court to deviate from a standard schedule is more difficult, but in certain situations can be done. Next question was, how old does a child have to be to choose where they live? So in Texas, a child that's 12 and up gets a vote about where they want to live primarily. That does not mean a child can say, I never want to see dad again, or I never want to see mom again, and I want to live exclusively with the other parent. That is not the way we do things. What we're saying is, does this child want to live primarily with mom or primarily with dad, or have a 50-50 schedule with both parents? That carries a lot of weight, but it is not a guarantee. And there are situations where a judge is not going to let that child have the schedule that he or she wants. If the child wants a schedule that your client or that you think is not best for your child, for example, your mom, you've always been primary, child has always been living primarily with you, and now they're 14 years old and they're saying that they want to go live with dad. That may be perfectly fine. It may not be. The reason they want to go live with dad could be because dad doesn't have any rules. Or it could be because dad will let her boyfriend spend the night. Or it could be because dad lets her have free access to the alcohol. There are a number of things that could be not in the child's best interest to live primarily with dad. And so you're going to want to be able to put on evidence for those things. But in most cases, a child 12 and up is going to be able to make that decision. The next question we had, what about schedules for babies? The standard possession order says it is the presumed minimum amount of time for a parent or for a child that is 3 and up for a parent to have. It doesn't include anything about what do we do with kids that are younger than 3. A lot of times this is very judge specific. Some judges are going to do standard for kids younger than 3. I usually see standard with some tweaks. I mean, if you have a 2-month-old baby and it's about to be the summer, it's not really realistic for that baby to go spend 30 days with the other parent and never see the primary parent again. So the general wisdom for babies is that it is better to have more frequent, shorter visits with parents when the younger that they are, because when you're 1 year old, a week is a really long time. When you're 15 years old, it's not. Next question, what if a standard schedule doesn't work for us? There are certain types of careers or family situations where a standard schedule is really not going to work. Do you have a firefighter that works on an A, B, or C 24 on 48 off schedule? We've seen pilots with very unique schedules where they don't know what their schedule is going to be. They can't control it. They find out about it a certain amount of time in advance. There are ways of dealing with whatever your situation is. We can find a schedule that will work best for your family. We want to try and maximize the quality time the child is getting with each parent. It doesn't do any good to have a child going to see a parent for the first, third, and fifth weekends if that parent is always working out of town on the first, third, and fifth weekends. We want to find something that is going to work best for that family. And the last question that I had that I wanted to answer today was, my ex refuses to use his possession time. What can I do? I see a lot of people on Facebook and other social media kind of wanting to enforce and make the other parent use their time. In Texas, we say possession is a right, not a duty, and you cannot force the other parent to use all of their time. If someone is not using all their time, let's say a parent fought tooth and nail to get 50-50 possession, and so you have an order that has 50-50 possession, but that parent is really only seeing the child 2 days a week. You might consider modifying to get a schedule that matches what is actually happening and adjust the child support accordingly. But if you have a parent on the other side who is just not involved, does not want to see the child, there is not any way of forcing them to do that. So hopefully that answered some of your questions about child custody in Texas. And hit us up with any additional questions that you have. We would love to help you out. Have a great day.